from the day I signed the contract to become a Smith & Sons franchisee to basically January 1 of this year.
Right.
We did over $600,000 in business.
You've 6x'd your business.
Yeah.
I mean, that's unbelievable. How old are you going to be before you start to experience life like you want it? I want to tell you right now, whether you like it or not, there is a better way to do business. Hi everyone, welcome to the Business for Builders podcast. My name's Max. I'm the CEO of Smith & Sons. Welcome to you if you're in YouTube land. Thanks for stopping by. Look, be sure to share and maybe leave a comment, maybe even like and subscribe. That certainly helps us out. And if you know anybody who might enjoy this conversation or benefit from it, be sure to share it with them directly. We'd appreciate it. But look, as usual, we want to deliver value. That's what we always want to do. We want to give you plenty of information that you can take away and execute straight away. We're always about high performance businesses. That's what we want to build. We want everyone to build a kick-ass business. And today I have a special guest in the studio, and he is going to just share with us. You know, I talk a lot about in these podcasts, I make reference to guys in the business and, you know, our franchise group that we're slowly building here in Canada. And, you know, it's just always good to hear it from the horse's mouth. So today I've got Shane Dewald from Smith & Sons Vernon North, and he's been kind enough to give us a little bit of time, and he's going to sort of help us out and give us some insight into what it is actually to be a Smith & Sons franchise general contractor. Welcome, Shane. Great to have you here, champ.
Thanks for having me.
Mate, what are we going to do? Like we talked about off air, it was just like, what are we going to talk about? Well, let's talk about the before and after shots. You know, I think that's what, you know, is, you know, when I look at all of you guys, and I've recruited all of you guys, everyone that we've got in the team so far, and, you know, the similarity is that I'm not happy with my business. I'm not happy maybe with my lifestyle because of my business. I just need to, I hope this is going to be it, Max. That's almost what they're saying. So where were you at in the months, without sort of dragging it out too much, but where were you in the months and years leading up to going, hey, I think my business has got to change?
Well, I mean, we basically ran a small contracting business out here for 5 years, and just didn't seem to gain any traction. Couldn't get leads, couldn't get, you know, any of that lead gen. When I did get a lead, I usually sold the job. So it was like, okay, you know, but we never grew as a business. We were always running extremely stagnant, where, you know, we would top off at, you know, 60, 80, maybe $100,000 a year. You know, I think $100,000 a year was my top year in all 5 years. And it floored me, because I saw all the work trucks going around. I saw all the construction, all the ads for jobs, and you know, people looking for people to do renovations for them. And we just weren't getting any phone calls.
But you knew the opportunity was there. You kind of like, why am I not getting to it?
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like, I mean, you know, part of it was, am I doing the wrong business strategy? Like, am I doing the wrong type of quoting methods? Am I not quoting properly? Am I underbidding myself? If I, you know, doing cost plus, you're never gonna make money doing that. I mean, yeah. If you do make money doing it, carry on. Right. Yeah. If you figured that one out.
I've got 9 guys in my business right now who don't subscribe to Cost Plus.
Yeah. Well, and that's exactly it. Right. I mean, all of us maybe started off at Cost Plus at some point in time, but we've definitely found a better way of doing it. And lo and behold, hey.
Because, you know, I often talk about the pain of change and the pain of staying the same.
Yeah.
And so for you, when you walked in the office that day, it was like the pain of change was so much less than the pain of staying the same. You're like, I cannot go another year and stay the same, because the change thing looks like it's easy, right? Now, it doesn't mean it's easy, but there's more hope attached to it.
Yeah, well, I mean, our last year business was actually started off to be a really great year. We did an $80,000 basement. We were getting kitchens, and, you know, I mean, that was our best year. But, you know, I could sense that things were starting to change again, right? We're starting to get into the fall months, and you know, I was never busy at Christmas. I was never busy over the winter. You know, odd small jobs here and there, the odd small bathroom or whatever, nothing major. But the biggest thing is that come September, you know, we had gone through a little bit of a life change. We sold our house. We were trying to figure out what we wanted to do. We couldn't find property that we wanted, so, you know, we scaled back our life quite a bit. And then after that, it was a thing of, okay, well, you know, I've got potentially, at that point in time, I was quoting for a whole home reno. I was quoting for, you know, a couple of kitchens, and all of them gone within a week. Yeah. All right. And so when the phone's not ringing and you've got, you know, 3 jobs that were probably valued at, you know, 220,000, right? And that's where I was thinking, hey, we're actually gaining traction here. We're going, and then all of a sudden it was like, bang, the bottom fell out and that was it. And, you know, your phone stops ringing. It's been 3 weeks. You haven't gotten a phone call and you're going, crap, what's going on?
Okay.
Right. And so it became a thing of, okay, well, there's obviously a better way to do this. So now I have to figure out either on my own what the better way of doing it is. Obviously, advertising is huge. That's what gets your name out there, right? And I remember seeing the ad from you guys, and I remember seeing, you know, odd Facebook ads posting up and stuff like that, and you're seeing it and you're reading it. And the one ad that came across was, you know, do you want to move to the Okanagan and be a builder, right? And I was like, well, I'm here. Where is this place? Yeah. You know, and literally, yeah, walked in the door because I knew if I didn't make a change, then my life was going to go one of 2 ways. Either I was going to take a job working by the hour, doing what I'd done for years and hate myself for it because I'd, you know, not so much given up on what I wanted to do.
Taking the safe road.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Taking the road not traveled, right? And, you know, so when I came down and had a conversation with you and Alex, you know, who happened to be here, you know, I kind of walked out and went, yeah, I can see this. I can definitely see this.
Was it different when you know, and it was ironic because obviously Alex would frequent the office. Yeah. And it just happened to, he was in the office when you were here. Did you, like, what was some of tell me about the preconceived ideas that you might have had, even though you kind of recognize that maybe the Smith & Son's worth looking into. What was some traditional builder perceptions that you might have had? Did you know we were franchised? Did you know we were a franchise company?
No, I didn't.
Interesting.
I did not know that there was a franchise company. I mean, franchise company in construction is something you don't really hear about.
It's uncommon, sure.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I didn't really, and that's what I was trying to figure out was because just before I came in, I did see an ad about, I believe it was Alex that was actually looking for a guy, or it might have been Scott.
Right.
One of the two was looking for a guy.
Yep.
And so I saw that ad come across Facebook that, you know, they're looking for somebody. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I literally walked in the door of one of 2 thoughts. Either I was going to go and work for somebody or I was going to, you know, at that point in time, I'd done my research. I'd looked online and figured out, oh, hey, there's actually, these are franchises. Mm-hmm. I'm like, okay, so how does this work? Right. So what's the deal? What's the buy-in? What's the, you know, what are we getting for it and all that kind of stuff?
And I think our conversation was pretty standard. It was along those lines. You know, what does it cost me? What do I get? Yeah. You know, what have I got to do?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's exactly it, right? So, I mean, you try and do your research ahead of time. And I mean, you know, maybe I am the one off because I did a lot of the research before I walked in the door. Right. So, I mean, my mind was 80% made up before I walked in the door because I knew I had to make a change. Mm-hmm, sure. I couldn't continue to live my life and do the business that I was doing and carry it forward because it just wasn't working out. Right.
So did you walk out that day going, I've still got questions, or did, you know, I mean, the fact that Alex was here is super helpful because you got an existing operator, right?
Yeah.
And I was probably letting him do a lot of the talking because it's like, you don't listen to me as a sales guy. You want to listen to one of the guys that's operating.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's the thing is like that day you know, when I left here the first day, I had a really good inkling that that's what I was going to do. Mm-hmm. You know, I knew what the startup costs were going to be. You know, I knew that I had that kind of sitting there and I was like, okay, that can work. Mm-hmm. Obviously had to run it by the better half and make sure that she was going to be happy with that decision, right? Because, I mean, it is money.
Big.
Well, it's money, right? And, you know, she's still waiting on the trip to Mexico next year, hopefully. Once we can actually travel. You know, so, I mean, I walked out that day and I had 2 things that I wanted to do. One, I wanted to have a conversation with Alex without you in the room.
I think you did that the next day, did you not?
Yeah, it was the next day or the day after, something like that. But I had arranged to have a meeting with him just so that it was more of a, I don't want to say scripted approach, right? Because you don't really know, right? I mean, is it coincidence that he's here? Is it, I mean,
I didn't know you were coming.
Well,
dude.
exactly, right?
How was that scripted?
Well, no, but
totally.
that's the whole thing, right? It's like
who's this guy just walked into my office?
right.
Oh, you want to buy? Oh, okay.
Right? Were they talking about this? Hey, what if a guy
Dude,
walks in the street? How are we going to play
this? It couldn't
this?
have got any better than that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But yeah, so at the end of the day, I'm sitting there and I had a conversation with you and Alex. I had a conversation with Alex. And then we had, basically 2 meetings with yourself and me and Misty, who's my wife. And then I think Alex joined us the one day as well on the second day. And I mean, pretty much that was, us going through all the ins and outs and getting any questions answered and stuff like that. But to be completely truthful with you, the day I walked out here, the first day I walked in here, the day I walked out here, I knew that personally that's what I wanted to do. It was then a matter of trying to figure out how I was going to get it accomplished. Because I mean, for me, I have a fairly high standard of what I want to get accomplished. And for me, it's all about aligning myself with the right people,
right?
To make sure that I accomplish that. Anal retentive is something that really, strikes home with me. I've always been called that. So, I want to make sure things are done exactly the way they should be done. I mean, we all have our days, that's for sure.
So what was your expectation? What did you, I know for a fact, because I run you through our training, you and Misty, and, I always like to talk in our strategic planning and business development day. It's like, okay, so what's your expectation? We knew then that you'd done 80 or 100 grand a year is pretty standard. And you've come up and said, well, I think I want to do 350 or 400. So now I'm always happy about guys 3 and 4X in their business. That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's not a bad stretch. 3X is kind of, I like that. 10X is, you're going to be flooded and overwhelmed, and you could bring you down. So safely and securely is what we're into. And honestly, I mean, I didn't know you that well like I do now, having seen what you've done. And so I'm like, okay, this guy thinks he's a bit of a hot shot. He wants to go to 350, 400. And I'm like, look, I want you to go there, but I got to be careful because I don't know how you operate for real. And so I've got to sort of just keep tabs on things and see how they're doing. So let's obviously fast forward. So you've done you've done 4 days training and you've sort of put it all out there. You got in December 2019? Yep. So you got in 2 months before COVID hit. Awesome. So then all of 2020, how did your business go? So we're talking 2020 and 2021. Or did you get in?
We came in 2020.
2020. Right. Okay.
Yeah, because it's literally been 14 months.
Okay. So in the year of 2021, I don't know when your year end and everything is, but what after, obviously our audience has now heard the fact that you did 80 or 100 grand, pretty standard, struggling to, get some traction. Yeah. What sort of business did you do in 2021?
So for calendar year, from the day I signed the contract to become a Smith & Sons franchisee to basically January 1 of this year,
right,
we did over $600,000 in business.
Right, so I completely underestimated you. Is that what you're telling me? You're going to stick that in my
no,
mouth?
I didn't. I underestimated myself. Right. I mean, I figured 350, 400. Based off of years of doing 100,000, pretty solid. I figured 350, 400. I was going to be laughing, and it just worked out that we did a lot more.
So I would say, when I talk, a lot of what we do in our conversations, whether it's on email or text or some of our advertising, we talk about joining forces with Smith & Sons, and the reason is because there is a part that we do, and absolutely there's a part that you do. But it's interesting that the sum total of what we can achieve together is so much greater. You just said, 80 to 100 grand. First year in the business after joining forces with Smithies, you've 6x'd your business. Yeah. I mean, that's unbelievable. Now, we could throw a number out. Let's go back to the 80 to 100 days you were doing cost plus. What was your markup percentage back then?
Oh, maybe 5%, 10%.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. I didn't know it was that bad.
Well, I mean,
you're going out the back door savage.
Well, yeah, but that's
quickly.
But that's the thing, though, is that we were trying to build it from scratch with no knowledge of people here, no ins, no nothing, right? So it became word of mouth, and the more we grew and the more jobs we started to get, that number did start to go up.
But you're still doing 10% markup.
Yeah.
Dude, you're killing.
Well, but no,
knowing what you know now.
No, but that's the thing is that we started at like literally 5%, and we started itching our way up, and we managed to get to 10%. And I was just at the time when I basically closed down that shop and opened up this one. I was to the point where I'm going, okay, I know there's got to be a price per square foot markup or a price per square foot scenario that I should be quoting at for these renovations. And I started looking at it, and I started looking at old numbers and started crunching those all down. And I'm going, bare minimum, I'm sitting at $80 to $85 a square foot for renovations, right? Looking at basement developments, I'm like, okay, you're probably closer to 90 because you've got appliances to fit in there and all that kind of stuff. Now, knowing what I know from what I learned from the training and all the other things that I've learned through this year,
So essentially what we did together is we 6x'd your business. I've got to be pretty careful about how I say that. We 6x'd your business, but more specifically, which is actually more exciting, even though going from 1 to 600 grand is awesome, we actually 8.5 times your profit margin.
Yes.
I could tell that little story that we often bring up occasionally
I know.
about
everybody
how,
talks about
and
it.
You know what, dude, that's just a belief. You're like, dude, I would be happy at this. When I told you you could get this, and you went back and you went, no, I don't. But, and immediately the light went on. That's a great way to learn, because failure, if you can fail forward, and it wasn't a massive failure, it was three grand or something like that. But it just really solidified. It's like, I believe, knowing what I know about the business and the dynamics, I think you can close that deal there.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, Max, I actually think, no, I don't want to go and try and close it there. And then you go close it here. And then you go back to the client. She's like, I would have paid that.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
And that's a learning curve, which I find hilarious. I think it's great.
I mean, the thing is that was the first job.
And it was a great increase and a great improvement, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
To jump, you're like, mate, I'm in high cotton. This is freaking awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
well,
yeah, but
I went from 10 to 38% in one job, right? For markups and overheads and all that kind of stuff.
Because I know guys, both in this business and outside the business, that cannot believe that you could do what you just did, 10 to 38% markup. Now, and we're not done at 38 cents. We go further than that, right?
Yeah.
But it's they struggle with the belief around that. Now,
in certain markets, I can definitely see it. And I mean, this is coming from, 20 some years of work in construction. Certain markets, I can see it. The reality is that what you're selling to the client is the value. And if you can sell them the value of it and they see the value of it, so that's the sales portion.
Now, what that means is because this is why I say, when I'm talking to my audience here, I say to them, you can't just run out and start marking shit up because Max said so.
No.
Right? What the value that you're talking, that's great. You go out there and you try and demonstrate value, and you want to sell value. You don't want to go and compete on price.
Yeah.
Is the part of your business now, it's a massive part, is the brand.
Yeah.
That gives you the backup and the horsepower to be able to go and represent the brand and ask for that premium price. And the other thing is we have a different way of selling.
Yes. Well, and it comes to, it's a combination of absolutely everything. One, you have to gain the knowledge that you can actually do it that way. 2, you have to believe in the fact that you can do it that way. 3, you have to try it a couple of times. And 4, you've got 25 minutes to gain somebody's trust for $200,000 in renovations.
Yeah.
So you have to figure out, how to sell yourself and how to sell that value and how to get them on your page. And you know what? It's not always going to go easy. It's not always going to be pretty. But the thing is that, the more you do it, the more confident you're going to get in yourself. But the thing is that it starts with those first couple of baby steps. If you've always sold everything at cost plus, or you've done a 15% markup across the board, and you're like, how do I get that higher? How do I get that higher?
Take the jump to go.
Yeah. If you walk in and you're nervous about selling that, they're going to picture that, they're going to see that, and they're going to destroy you for it, right? If you walk in with that confidence of, I can walk around here, you're
comfortable in the routine now. That's what it comes down to. You've grown. Yeah. And this is what you become, like the people that you hang around.
Yeah.
So it's purely by association, asking questions, executing, trying new things, be prepared to drop the ball a few times.
Yeah.
that you now sit here and this year, I mean, we're not going to sort of go and sort of put numbers on you or anything like that, but I think 40% maybe on top of what you did last year. If you could do another, you might do 900. I don't know, this year. Like
this year, projected?
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, so we don't need to know numbers exactly.
No, projected, I'm probably, if things keep going the way they're going, my God, I'll be 1.5.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll cut. Make a note to self that we need to get Shane back here at this time next year. And
right now we're putting out quotes, quantity takeoff service on 4 jobs. And I literally just had a meeting this morning about another one that's potentially 200,000. So we're quoting for approximately 800,000.
How many quotes do you do right now that you don't get paid for? Percentage wise, I don't care. 1 out of 10.
0.
So every quote that you're producing that's in our system right now in Vernon North,
there's a quantity takeoff service.
You are getting paid to quote.
Yep. Whether I have done an actual quantity takeoff service arrangement with them, or I just build it into the quote.
Right. But
so
you're so
one
sure.
way or the other, when I'm building, if I get to the point where, you know what I mean?
You can move quickly.
Everybody has a bad day, right? So you walk in, you have your meetings, and everybody's happy, and you're doing all this stuff, and then you forget, you brain dead yourself, and you forget to mention, oh, by the way, this is the fee we charge to do all this, and you just start doing it. It happens.
But again,
we all have that falter. But I mean, the beautiful way of the way the system works is that you can build that into your quote, so you're making sure that no matter what, you're still getting paid to do that quote.
Yeah, I mean that's obviously not we want to make sure we want to separate the two, the QTS from
obviously
but like
there's going to be those times where you like I said I mean
there's some jobs that that I've done personally since I've been in Canada way back in the beginning of Smithies, where I would just want to test the water and see what was out there. And $25,000-$30,000 job, and I literally give the guy an estimate on the spot and say it's going to be between 22 and 30. Come back to him at 25, and we close the deal. No QTS, but it literally took me 20 minutes to quote. So there is those things where I say to the guys, like if you feel it, like I'm not saying that it happens every time, but I think the minute you get over this 25 to 30,000 or 25 to 50, like kitchens, QTS all the way. Like there's so many moving parts.
Way too many.
You need to know exactly everything that has aesthetic value. I've got to know from the client what make, what model, what color, what style, everything. And then I can go and get you a fixed price quote.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Like, I mean, it's like I said, 95% of the time we're doing a QTS. Any job we do right now is I'm doing a minimum QTS.
And the first thing is you're getting some sort of token for your time.
Yeah.
So your knowledge and experience is worth something.
Yeah.
The second thing is you've got clients that have actually invested in the relationship. So they show some trust in you.
Yeah.
And then because they've done that, it's highly likely that you've just taken them off the market. Yeah. Now they're working solely with you. You're not competing with anyone. So it's no longer about price. It's about the quality of the service now.
Well, and that's the thing. And most people, most customers or potential customers, if they're willing to spend $1,000 to $1,500 with you to do the design process, unless you completely screw it up, they're going to go with you because they're already invested in you.
And the caveat is, don't tell someone it's going to be between 15 and 30, and you come back with a quote for 70, because the sticker shock is going to blow your credibility out of the woods.
No, but I mean the thing is that there's also those times, and I mean we're experiencing it right now. We started off, and our original estimate, based off of what she wanted to do was going to be about 150. But we're going to be a little bit higher than that because of the fact that she all of a sudden got the idea that she wants to move her kitchen from one side of the house to the other.
As long as you make it clear to her, it's going to attract another 30 grand's worth of work.
Well, but that's the thing, right? Is so now that she's making all these changes and we're sitting there and going, okay, well, you're going to have more costs to do this. I mean, we're moving all your electrical across the house. We're going to do this. We're going to do this now, right? I mean, the scope of the work is
changed.
Well, the scope of the work hasn't changed because we're still redoing our kitchen, but now we're redoing it from scratch, right? And that's where that misconception comes in from a lot of different potential clients, is that they don't understand, well, what do you mean it's going to cost me this much money? Well, yeah, but the basis of your electrical is there. The basis of your plumbing is there. Now I have to recreate the electrical, recreate the plumbing in order to accomplish the fact that you've moved the kitchen to clear across your house, right? And then delete all the other stuff, right?
So, mate, tell me if you were, if you get to sit down with another GC, I mean, what do you say, because you put yourself into that position where, okay, you were looking, and you've just talked about all of the success that you've experienced and all of the success potentially that's going to come your way.
Yeah.
What is it, what do you say to these guys? I mean, talk to us about the power of the brand in your business now, even though, because some guys go like, Max, I've had this brand in my truck for 10 years. And it's like, what's it worth, bro?
Yeah.
Oh, nothing. So what are some of those key things that you think? Is it the brand? Is it the camaraderie? Is it the systemized approach to sales? Is it the marketing that Smithies does? I mean, it's probably a lot to do with everything I just mentioned.
Yeah.
What do you say to a GC? I mean, what do you?
Well, I mean, okay.
Because they don't trust me. They don't trust me, the brand.
No.
They don't trust that franchising could work in construction.
Well, I mean, hey, I was kind of scratching my head on that one too. But now that I've seen it, oh yeah, it totally works. Because, I mean, perfect example, right? Tim Hortons, McDonald's, franchises. They're huge.
That's all hospitality, right?
No. But it's the same principle. It's a franchise. The name recognition, right? When you drive through a town and you see their signs, that's name recognition, right? You see that. So what we're building here now is that same name recognition.
Sure.
So what that does is that when you've got that name recognition out there as being one of the top builders and one of the top renovation specialists, and guys that are and franchisees that are going to take the time and make sure the job's done the right way, the proper way, efficiently, all these other kinds of things, and any potential issues that come up, they get dealt with right away. We're easy to deal with. We're personable. All these kinds of things. Those things all come back. So what that allows the next guy to come into is they walk into that recognition. So somebody will see your truck driving down the street and they're going to say, I've seen 8 of those today.
Sure.
I've seen, all these different things. So what does that bring to us? I mean, it is everything. It's the proper way to learn how to sell. It's the proper way to learn how to build a job. It's the proper way to learn how to carry out that job. It's the availability to call one of 9 guys and have a conversation with them because you come across something that you haven't seen before, but you know damn well that one of them has. You can draw on that experience, right? If you look at some of the things that, like any of us, right? Joey called me up the other day or a couple months ago in regards to a cable railing system. Right? Because they saw what we did out here for the one cable railing, and he was asking me a whole bunch of questions about it. He's like, I don't even know if I can do that. I'm like, these are the guidelines. These are the minimum code requirements. So, it's up to each individual thing.
But that's what Joey says too. He's like, it's great having all of these guys' numbers in my back pocket. I can ring. And he does.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about the initial investment? Like that's a lot of difference for general contractors and builders. They're like, what, me buy a business, a franchise? How do you feel 14 months in now? Because I know maybe you could share with me real quick what it felt like to be like, okay, the investment was a lot of money.
Yeah.
But now you're this far into it. Now, how do you view that initial investment now as opposed to back then? The initial, wow.
I made that initial investment back in 6 months.
So
is it an actual initial investment? Is it something that's going to be heavy on your head or heavy on your heart, right? As an initial investment? No. Because if you learning the things that you're going to learn and conducting your business in a way that you're going to be, taught and shown how to conduct, you'll make that money back.
Yeah.
So I guess the question is whether or not you feel that your future is worth investing in.
That's a good question. That's
right?
a great question.
If you feel that you're worth that much money to invest into your future for the rest of your life, something that you're going to be able to build over the next 10, 15 years of your life, the question should be, why haven't you done it before? Right? I mean, we invest in ourselves all the time. We go and take courses. We go to school. We get trades. We get all these other kinds of things. So we're investing in ourselves. So if you feel that amount of money is not, if you're not worth that investment, then this might not be the business for you. But if you feel that you're worth that investment, and it's going to help you grow to the point where, I mean, all of us are expanding. All of us are growing.
Have you felt this business has pushed you to develop, to grow?
Oh, God, yeah.
You've not done it in your comfort zone, have you?
No.
Right.
No. God, no. I mean, I haven't gone out of my comfort zone. There's been a couple of times where I've pushed myself over the limit and drew myself back in. And I mean, it's evident, right? I mean, there's obviously things that get missed. There's this and that. It's always a learning curve. But I mean, that's the whole purpose of life, is to learn.
If you didn't go with Smithies 14 months ago, where do you think you'd be today?
Working a job somewhere.
Right. Just working at a wholesaler, or
it wouldn't have been it wouldn't even have been a it wouldn't even have been a question up at that point in time.
And that's a scary thought.
I knew I could not sustain doing what we were doing. I could not sustain it the way it was. So, I mean, I was literally at an option A, option B scenario. Option A was to get a job. Option B was Smith & Sons. I chose option B. And, yeah.
Good deal.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, all right, mate. Well, look, I think anything else, any other advice, anything else that, may have scared you back then and now? Because it's hard for me because I'm in it all the time. And I lose the sensory understanding of what you guys go through when you talk to me.
From a perspective aspect, okay, so I'm going to basically direct this right to guys who are potentially looking into this and are sitting there kind of, on the fence trying to figure it out. Okay, so if your business has topped out at, say, we're going to use this number because it's easy. If your business has topped out at $500,000 for the last 3 years.
I know a guy who did that before Smithies.
Yeah, right. So if your business has topped out at that for 3 years straight or 2 years straight, and you can't seem to get over that crest, and you're trying to figure out why, ask yourself this: how much money are you putting into marketing? Do you have a marketing team available to you? Do you have a content team available to you? Do you have the availability to call up 9 other guys and have a conversation with them about how to properly build your business and build your business, to the point where you're, what is it, work to live instead of live to work?
Something like that.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is that if you want to push yourself and you want to move yourself forward and you want to build yourself a legacy, then this is the way to do it. And there's multiple reasons for it. And I could sit here and talk for 4 hours about it. I mean,
you can.
I talked to Jill about it for an hour and a half the other day. Didn't even realize it. But I mean, the thing is that, if you're on that fence and you're trying to figure out what you want to do, ask yourself 3 questions. How many days a week do you work? Are you working Saturdays? Are you working Sundays? Are you catching up on Saturdays and Sundays? Are you working till 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock at night? Do you have a social life?
That's a lot of questions.
Yeah.
That's more than 3.
These are all questions you need to ask yourself. Right?
That's lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Right? So, I mean, if you want to work 7 days a week, 12, 14 hours a day, go for it. Right. But I mean, for myself, I like go golfing on the weekends. I like going out on the lake.
So when we're talking almost, we say to the guys, what do we do? We try and make it simplistic. So it's like the difference when you join Smithies, we get more leads, more profit, better lifestyle. Yeah. Are we ticking boxes with you, Shane?
Oh, yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
I had over 120 leads last year, and I think the maximum I ever had before that was like maybe 20. Right. So, I mean, if you're getting 120 leads and you're closing a quarter of those, so you're getting 30 jobs, and the average job is, say, $50,000, you just made yourself $1.5 million. And you're not actually that much busier than what you would be now.
Interesting.
Right. So, I mean, really it comes down to, if you haven't done it and you're sitting on the fence, really, it'll be worth your while to make the phone call at least. Right. And actually talk to any of us, and we'll tell you the exact same thing.
Brilliant.
Best decision we ever made.
And that is a great way to finish, Shano. Appreciate you coming in and just sharing your heart, mate. It's a big deal, It's great to have seen your development and your growth, and we don't want to stop at 9 or 10. We want to see this thing go far beyond that, even though I really love the fact that there's, those sorts of numbers. It's no longer a proof of concept. There's enough traction in the business now. And so, it's a bit of a plug for Smithies. But look, if you've got any questions as it relates to, just getting more information about what it is that we do over and above what Shano's already talked to us about, Look, feel free to email me at max@businessforbuilders.ca, and I will definitely reach back out to you and answer any of those questions you might have had. Feel free to text me on 250-241-8866 and, like and subscribe. So thanks for visiting, Shane. We appreciate your help.
No problem.
And we'll see you maybe on another episode in 12 months.
Yeah.
Go build a kick-ass business. We'll see you on the next one. Cheers.